the Barletta team at Ligris, and I'm so excited to have Miss Amy Wortzman from Eastern Bank here again. Thanks for joining us, Amy.
Glad to be back. Thanks for having me. It's always good when we have some news to share.
I'm really excited for this one. I think that all my agents out there, like, please listen up because what Amy's going to share is, I mean, it was a shock to me. So I am so excited. Just if you want to take us through the program name, what the program entails, and all that fun stuff. Go ahead.
Fantastic. Yes. So, as everybody knows, we have a really hard market out there these days, right? Our incomes may not be rising as much as some of these prices, rates are going up, and affordability remains challenged. Well, what has happened since Eastern Bank bought Harbor One and the two entities have come together, we've actually enhanced our portfolio lending. And for those that may not know, a portfolio loan is a loan that the bank holds, which means it's not sold on the secondary market, which means you can write your own rules and your guidelines. So what I'm going to share with you today, candidly, as a loan officer, I was even surprised when I read the guidelines and I said, "Are you sure?" And they're like, "Yeah, no, this is real." So today I'm going to introduce our one community. I love the name because if you know me, I'm all about community. I'm all
Absolutely.
about empowering people, lifting up. And with this new tool in my toolkit, as I say, we are really able to help more borrowers. One community, friends, get ready for this.
Yeah,
It's
buckle up.
100% financing.
100.
100% financing. That is allowed for a single family, a condo, a 2 unit, a 3 unit, and even a 4 unit.
Wow.
Now, this doesn't mean this is for everyone. So, with all due respect, we still have some income restrictions. You cannot have more than $100,000 liquid, very much like Mass Housing Partnership. But what fascinates me about the income limit, it is based on the county, but
Okay.
the difference is it's based on the applicant only. So, where a lot of first-time homebuyer products are going to look at your household income, this is just who's on the loan. That is really strategic. That is powerful because sometimes you might talk with a family and you might see an advantage, let's say if only one person does the loan, or if
Right.
it's a large family, maybe two. You have that flexibility. Another technical that those that follow guidelines and such are going to go, "Whoa, are you sure, Amy?" And I'm going to say, "Yes, that's right." This program goes up to a 50% debt to income ratio.
Wow.
Now, to give you a comparison, a lot of programs are going to cap out at a 43% or maybe a 45. A 50 gives you that extra little boost.
Right.
Now, what's nice about this qualifying program, this is another whoa, there's no private mortgage insurance. So no
Really?
PMI. So when you do these numbers, it's old school manual, taking a look at calculations, but it does get people into something that maybe another product didn't, right? More
Right.
options, more opportunity. We had a client that was really just trying to pick up like another 50,000 in purchase price. And with this product, when we went live, it did what we needed to do.
Mm.
Now, a couple things I just want to put out on the street. You absolutely have to have a verification of rent, meaning I need 1 full year of rent, not like a note from your mom and dad or your Aunt Sue down the hall, right? I need a real paper trail. So canceled checks, a flow through your bank statements. It can't just have, like I said, those rent receipts. It's really got to document that as verifiable. Once we cover that, I just need a 680 credit score or better to go to 97% or 100. So with that higher,
Mm.
what we call loan to value, 680 or better. If we have a
Wow.
lower score, we can still do it, just not at 100%. The last thing that I like to remind people, because when we plan for home ownership, we have to plan fully, right? And so zero down payment does not mean you don't need money.
Right.
And for all
No,
the
zero
agents that
closing
are
costs.
listening,
Right. Right.
I say this for you, and I say this to consumers also for you, because when you make the offer, right, they need a check. When they sign purchase
Right.
and sales, they need a check. What's really nice is that if our client themselves didn't have the money, but they could get a gift,
Mhm.
right? That could be almost like a placeholder because by the time we close, we may not need that money.
Mm.
We can still layer in grants. We can layer in
Wow.
deferred loans, lots of resources that still come in. So
Seller
in my
credits.
say that
Seller,
again, seller
seller
credit, you
credits.
got it. negotiate a seller credit, zero down payment, we've really cut back on that liquidity.
Right.
So again, this may not be for everyone, but when you think about someone that's making good money, that struggles to save, which is a lot of people these
Yeah.
days, they have great income, but they just don't have that like nest egg. This might be the solution. So I like to encourage people as they talk to people, if you hear someone that says, man, I'd love to go buy a house, I don't have the money, let's take a look. Let's
Yeah. And
seriously take a look.
is there any restrictions? I know that there's certain grant requirements that limit you to a certain count, certain town, or certain, the North Shore or whatever. Is there any kind of limitation as to where in the Commonwealth you're buying?
So believe it or not, this product will mirror where our bank has branches. That means we do all of Massachusetts. We do parts of Rhode Island now. We have New Hampshire. And this product, to your point, is county based. So that's where I check the income limits. But it's
Right.
a very wide footprint. And it's helpful again because sometimes when people chase affordability, they might pop over a state border. We
Right.
don't see that.
Exactly.
So this is another way, like, let's be honest, if we had someone who was maybe in a mass housing partnership scenario for Massachusetts, but all of a sudden wanted to look in another state, I might consider this as an alternative product. So
Sure.
that's a great question. We'll see as the bank develops and grows, but right now, like we do have a defined footprint, but
Yes.
so far we've really been able to cover most of the listings people throw at us for it.
That's amazing. I still am like kind of in disbelief that this program exists out there. Just
Me too.
and again, like a tool in your tool belt, absolutely. And I think that for a lot of people, especially now, I talk to agents every day and they're like, I have so many buyers, but they're just unable to right now. Or I have buyers who are excited to, but then when they look at how much they have to put down plus their closing costs, it's just,
People get scared and they get
yeah,
paralyzed, right? And then they stop looking. And
right.
that's part of this is like I look at people's cash flow and their budgets just when I do a pre-approval, and I get it. It is really hard to save a lot of money. That's the way our world is. And so, to your point, if we can educate someone on resources and programs, the goal is a roadmap. It may
Yeah,
not be 6 months, maybe it's a year, maybe it's 3 months. We don't know. But
yeah,
I think one of the biggest takeaways from this conversation would be get someone professional to review and get more than one opinion, right?
absolutely.
This is an Eastern Bank portfolio loan, which means it's something that we only offer. Other banks and credit unions may have something as well. And so
Right.
I'm all for what I call a more collaborative approach in banking and lending,
Yeah,
right? If I have a plan and my counterpart somewhere else has a plan and that client has different options, that is fantastic.
right, right.
While that may be looked at as competition, as I said at the beginning, this is about empowering people, not like cutthroat.
Yeah.
So
That's what
whatever
I
best
love
for the
about you.
consumer,
I
right?
love
Whatever's
that.
best for the consumer. And we're
Yeah,
creating that power pod with the agent, with you, and then we get them to the finish line. So
100%.
let's add this in. Let's see what we do this spring, and we'll take it
Yeah.
from there.
And also just make sure that you heard Amy too. Like this is not just this program, but this can also be used to stack other financial assistance, grants, and so forth. And that's again, one of the reasons I love working with Amy. I mean, Amy's amazing, but also her knowledge. Her knowledge about all of these community programs is unlike any loan officer I've ever met. She just has all the connections. She knows every player, and I think that is there's so much money left on the table, honestly. And so many transactions where if they only spoke to you, they would have been able to uncover a possibility for closing cost coverage or
Right.
just money back.
Exactly. And it's funny, like I've even done transactions where we have resources, and I think sometimes our realtor friends, after an inspection, they might go immediately to a seller credit as sort of like, hey, don't fix that, just give for closing costs. But we had one where actually the client wouldn't have benefited from a closing cost credit because everything was covered.
Right.
And so we suggested a different type of negotiation for that. And that's unique, right? Like it was like, no, we actually don't need that money. So they could lower the price or do something else
Right.
to benefit the consumer. And
Awesome.
thank you for your warm words. Like that's the details. That's
Right.
figuring out the magic. And the beauty of this is all if we do it right, there's more equity at closing.
That's it. Exactly. Exactly. And that's such an exciting feeling for buyers. Like when you can break that down for them and be like, oh my gosh, we we're at the closing table and this is what I'm going to walk away with in terms of equity in my pocket without having done anything besides talk to Amy. So
Thank you.
I appreciate it so much. And if you have any questions about this, tell me again the name of the program. One Community program with Eastern Bank. Please reach out to Amy. And if you have any other follow-up questions, reach out to us. Thanks, Amy.
Bye.
Bye.